Well, the weatherman is saying it feels a little warmer than it actually is. 31 degrees it says, but it's actually 28 degrees here in Abuja in the Federal Capital Territory. Good morning and welcome to Sunrise Daily, your daily dose of sunshine. I'm Maokpe Ogun Yusuf.
Well, it's not too far in Lagos. It's 32 degrees centigrade here in Lagos. This is Lagos. I'm Ayo Makinde. Welcome to the program. So, I'm Maokpe. I hear you're taking us to the southeast this morning.
Indeed, I was going to say the southeast is closer to the southwest. Well, maybe there's a south-south between them, but hey, we're going from the north-central region of the country this morning to the southeast region, where the president, we understand, will be visiting later today to commission a number of projects that has been done by the governor of the state, Professor Charles Chukwuma Soludo. Today, we understand he will be commissioning some of these sites you're currently seeing on your screen. A new government house right there in the middle of Oka. Well, Governor Soludo has made the point, has made it very clear that the old government house, much as it was not purpose-built to host government and its activities, was actually built as the home of the chief judge of the state. It's not even situated in Oka, the capital. So he says Anambra is the only state that has a government house not situated within the capital of the state. Yeah, the old one, which had been used temporarily, perhaps for a little too long, was situated in Equilobia. I hope I'm getting that name correctly. And now they have this new edifice been commissioned today by no other than the president, or by none other than the president. And they have a number of other pieces of infrastructure that will also be commissioned as well. So a bit of excitement in the air, I guess, for the people of Anambra State today. Ayo, can you feel it from where you are?
Well, you're reminding me of that song by Michael Jackson. Can you feel it? I don't know if I can feel it yet, but you can definitely feel the weather if you're in Oka right now. It's 27 degrees in Anambra State, and definitely something befitting, one would say. And Marco, it looks to me like this is more of a G2G arrangement, government to government, federal government to state government, whichever one you want to look at it. But the fact that, this is happening is something. Anambra is one of the oldest states in Nigeria. I mean, looking at all of its divisions since very, very many years back, created in 1991 from what we know, and so many other things happening in and around the state gives you an idea that this is a very lush arrangement for the state government. And how about the people themselves? If you look far right above your screen, you will see the greenery in the rear. Right there above the skyline, above your screen, at top of your screen, the skyline of Anambra State, a lush, beautiful, and lovely place indeed to behold. Well, what the president is going to see today, I guess he himself is going to have to taste it. A little bit of Anambra. I'm expecting that, of course, Anambra will probably welcome the president in the red cap, the customary red cap, or whatever else. I don't know what you think about that, Marco.
Well, I do know that the people of the Southeast are not people who do things in halves. They certainly will go all out and do what it is that they need to do, as well as they know how to do it. And as you can see from the edifice, we can see on the screen this morning clearly, there certainly will be a lot to commission. For those who are wondering, why does the governor's house need to be this big? I'm sure that we have somebody here to help answer that question, because when I did go to Anambra and I saw the new government house, I imagined there was just going to be one house, but no, it's an entire complex. So what they want, or what they decided to build, was an entire complex to house all of government and its officials. Well, maybe not all, but all that have to do with the immediate environment of the governor to ensure smooth working. So this will not certainly only serve the current governor, it will serve every other governor that will come after him. So what they're thinking of doing, or what they thought of doing, according to what Governor Charles Oludo said, was something that will stand the test of time. Well, this morning, I'm sure somebody who might be very excited about what has been accomplished in the state, because when we're talking infrastructure, you're certainly talking works. We have with us this morning Mr. Ifeanyi Okoma, who is the Commissioner for Works in Anambra State. Mr. Okoma, it's good to see you. I can see you all dressed in green and white, and I'm sure that you are certainly one person who will be very excited about the amount of infrastructure that is going to be commissioned in Anambra State this morning. How do you feel today? Oh, well, it does appear that Mr. Okoma he can see me, but he's trying to hear me somewhat. So we're going to try again, Mr. Okoma. If you can hear me, just nod your head. I'd like to see you nod your head. I just wanted to, feel your temperature this morning as to how you currently feel. I can see the smile on your face, which certainly says that you're excited about what is about to happen in your state. And I do know that when it comes to works, when you talk about works, it's always about infrastructure. And I'm sure that your department will have a lot to show for the last three or so years that it has been in office. So can you tell us just how you feel this morning and what precisely you're looking forward to?
Well, thanks very much for this opportunity. Well, thanks very much Anambra, today is the day of joy. We cannot just express our appreciation and the joy that we have in our heart for what is happening today. For 34 years, Anambra State is the only state that don't have a government house. And we sit in a makeshift house that is outside the state capital, which is at Amobia. But today, there is Amobia. But today, there is things to celebrate. Anambra State, by the grace of God, and through the leadership of Professor Charles Oludo, CFR, a great leader, a visionary, we are able to have a state, a government house that is sitting on close to 28 hectares of land, and is going to be the biggest and the greenest state house in the country. Government house in the country.
So clearly, it was intentional to go for the biggest. I wish there was a Guinness Book of Records that was going to take notes, of which government house is the biggest. But clearly, it does appear that the people of Anambra, or the governor of Anambra, did set out to make a record with the size of the government house. But tell us what you mean by the greenest. Are you talking in terms of the environment, or are you talking about, by environment, I mean in terms of the carbon footprint, or are you talking about the amount of grass and greenery that will be planted around the government house?
Well, in the government house, at the lodge area, we have over about 6 hectares of land that is supposed to be green, that we are greening. Putting different kinds of orchards, different kinds of trees is going to be behind the lodge. So that makes it, in fact, we'll be inviting you to a walk in the government house forest area. It's going to be one of the best. And I think that a lot of people will want to have a feel of that in the next few months when the trees have started growing. And you have different kinds of orchards. 6 hectares of land dedicated to orchard and the green area. That is phenomenal. Then apart from that, all other areas, if you look around, you see the amount of area we've dedicated to the lawns, trees, and things green. We are aware of the fact that we are trying to make a difference so that when you are here, you are relaxed, you enjoy yourself.
Well, I know that, yes, the government house is quite an edifice, and as you did say, it's sitting on quite an expanse of land. But we know that that is not the only thing that the president will be commissioning today. Tell us about the Solution Fund City, which the president will also be commissioning.
Well, before I go into the Solution Fund City, let's look at the government house. Apart from the fact that the government house houses the office of the governor, it has one of the theaters, one of the biggest. The only government house that have a 1,100 seaters auditorium that is there that you're looking at. It has a banquet hall that seats about 1,000 persons. It has a deputy governor's office. It has a clinic. It has fire station. It has residential area. These are the things, and then it's fully reticulated, and then there is hydrant on the Firefighting is super first class. Firefighting is super first class. It's fire hydrants and a lot of other things. The water, we can't lack water because we have thousands and thousands of liters of storage facilities that are here. It's something that was intentional, built to last. That is in the government house. But for us here, we want to make a statement. We are building a livable, prosperous homeland, which people tempt Dubai, Taiwan. And so for you to come into the government house, we have an 8-lane dual carriageway that is moving in from here, which Mr. Governor will unveil the name today. Then from that 8th lane, you will now have the Tower of Light. The Anambra is the light of the nation. So there's going to be a Tower of Light that is standing about over 40 meters above the ground level. That is already lit, it's working. Then you have in front of it is the monument of our heroes. The heroes, the labors of our heroes past shall never be in vain. So we have them there. You see, the Governor, Professor Chukwuma is the only person and the first person that have recognized the fact that the labors of our heroes shall never be in vain. And so we have the statue that is standing before the government house. That is all that has to do about the government house. Now we need to talk about the Kwame Square that has actually been rebranded and expanded to make sure that the 3-arm zone is fully functional. On the Fun City that you asked me about, Fun City, we are creating a livable, prosperous homeland. There is no person that will invest where he cannot live. And there is nothing that will attract people in Anambra. And in doing this, a place, so we've decided to create what we call Solution Fun City. As you drive into the Solution Fun City, you have Anambra Country Club. There are no place where the elite of Anambra should come and fertilize and cross-fertilize ideas. And so we felt that there is a need in trying to bring people home, in trying to make Anambra what is supposed to be. We needed that club. And so that club is sitting, and you have a photograph of it. It's one of the biggest, super well-articulated and well-built. But unfortunately, that is built sitting on a sandfield area because that place was actually swamp and depressed. It's actually accumulates water, but we've actually been able to fill it and do that. As you move further, you'll see the car park that sits about 500 cars or more. After that 500 cars park, you now move into the Solution Fund Family Farm building. In the Family Farm building, you have the restaurant by the right as you move in, and as you just go on, you have the game arcades, different kinds of games that you cannot find anywhere in the country, especially something that you find in Dubai and in Canada. The last time I saw such things was in Canada. There are different kinds of game arcades. Then you have a bowling alley. Then you have another restaurant. You now walk into the green area where you have a bumper car area where children will enjoy the bumper car. There's a building for that. So you now move to see the Ferris wheel, the roller coaster, the drop tower, that is one of the tallest in the country as well, about 45 meters high. Then you now have roller coaster. So these are on one side. On the other side is the power, is the water, the water area. And there you have different kinds of swimming. You have a swimming pool that is Olympic size, that is Olympic size. You have attraction pool, you have wave pool, and all that not, and all that. Actually, this is the only place in Nigeria where you can see an amusement park with a water park sitting together. You can Google it, there's no other place in the country. We are intentional about what we are doing, and we know that we are building a livable, prosperous homeland. Time will fail me to talk about the road infrastructure that we are doing, but let's go on. But for now, we are wishing that the president will be able to see 2 weeks or 3 weeks here, or even 1 month, to look at the things to begin to commission. Today, we are trying to squeeze his program to do about how many commissions: the Fun City, the Boulevard, the tower, the Light of Nation, the Light of Anambra State, the statues, and the government house. And in the government house, there are so many other buildings that we're looking at. So I think that we are squeezing 5 or more projects in 1 day's visit of Mr. President, and wish that Mr. President will have another opportunity of being here or even stay 2 weeks or more, and we keep commissioning on a daily basis. Thank you, sir.
Well, thank you so much, Mr. Okoma. I just want to know, because I can see that you are indeed very excited. How involved would you say your ministry, the Ministry of Works, was in the building or the construction of these numerous projects?
Well, our ministry is Ministry of Works and Infrastructure. And we are involved in different ways. One, the design. Some of the times we have consultants that design, so we have to change design. Some of the times we design ourselves. Then we supervise. We make sure that these designs are implemented to the letter and then according to the specifications and according to the design drawings. So we are deeply involved. And you know, our mantra is doing more with less. You can wonder, how do the governor, as of last count, we've done about 500 kilometers of road. Before we had 17th March, we had 462 kilometers. Today, we've asphalted about 500 kilometers of road out of 762 that we've awarded. So we are moving, we're in a hurry, and the governor, Professor Masoludo, has not borrowed one kobo from anywhere. And we are not owing any contractor. It's unprecedented. It's something that Anambra State should be proud of.
Well, I do know that Ayo, my colleague in Lagos, also has questions for you. Ayo.
Well, thank you. Well, one question, Honorable Commissioner, that I would just want to find out is, Mr. President is coming to Anambra State for this commissioning. This will not be his first visit. And for those who are watching, they will be saying, wait a minute, what's going on here? The president and the governor are not on the same political platform, as you know that many people usually read meanings into stuff. How significant is it, or what is the significance of having the president come to Anambra State to commission a project that is being championed by a governor from another political party? Oh dear. Well, my question seems that Mr. Engineer Okuma cannot hear me, so maybe you want to take the question back to him.
I wanted to quickly confirm that you could hear my colleague Ayo. He was asking, you know, about political affiliations, about how the president is from one party and the governor is from another party, and people are, does the governor want to set tongues wagging, you know, what exactly is going on, you know, with the president visiting today to commission this project?
Well, first of all, let me say this. He is the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Once he's elected, he's the president, he's the father of the nation. And the governor is the father of the Anambra. And so, to have a handshake with the president is something that is encouraged. And let me say it, we are all Progressive Grand Alliance, and he is all Progressive Congress. Progressives working together for the good governance of Nigeria. Nothing wrong with that.
Well, Ayo, I hope that answers your question. Mr. Okoma, I can see that, you know, you really do have to go. We have to thank you so much for speaking with us this morning on Sunrise Daily. We do hope that the visit of the president and the commissioning of all the edifices and the infrastructure that you have, they do go well. We're excited for the people of Anambra, also excited for the children and the young people who will be making use of the Soludo Fun City. That certainly is something that they can look forward to, especially with... Yeah, the solution, beg your pardon, the Solution Fun City. Thank you so much for speaking to us this morning on Sunrise Daily. Ifeanyi Okoma is the Commissioner for Works in Anambra State.
And infrastructure. Okay, thanks very much. I really appreciate you. It's a great thing of joy that Anambra State is breaking the chains after 34 years. Thanks to His Excellency, Professor Charles Masoludo, CFR, the Governor of Anambra State.
So thank you so much, and we'll be keeping tabs on developments as they happen in your state. Well, just quickly, you know, over the week, we have looked at a number of issues. We've looked at defection, we've looked at security, We've looked at a number of issues, and you, our viewers, have diligently sent your feedback to us, as I believe that you will also have feedback on what it is that you have just witnessed and maybe what the country will witness with the visit of Mr. President to Anambra today. We have a number of your feedback. We've been saying we'll take a number of them, but we're just going to take a few now, and maybe towards the end of the program we'll take more. We have this first one from Professor Enakena talking about defections, which is one of the issues that have come up. He says Nigerian politics is largely driven by personal ambition rather than ideology. Political parties, including the APC and the PDP, are often seen as platforms for electoral success rather than vehicles for distinct governance principles. This makes defections easy. Thus, as politicians switch to the party, offering better prospects for
those with driving selfish ambitions within the party are many and are willing to betray the party to break even. Oh dear. It's another one, Margaret.
And this last one, which we'll take for now, is from Victor Owo. Victor Owo was talking about the opening statement by Mr. Kola Ologbondiyan. He certainly wasn't happy about that. He says it's a put-off. What kind of transfer season? I think I was referring to his opening statement when he said that what is happening in politics right now is like the transfer season in football. He said, what kind of transfer season comparison is he talking in our politics? They don't rate us. And that's why they feel Nigerian lives is a football game. This is poor. So clearly he's not happy with that metaphor. But these are some of the feedback that we currently have from you, and we certainly will take a bit more by the time we're about to wrap up the program.
It is the routine ministerial press briefing at the National Press Center in Abuja, and the Minister of Defense and his colleague at the Ministry of Environment are on ground to account for their stewardship. The Minister of Defense provides an overview of military operations since 2023, highlighting the gains made against terrorists and other criminal elements.
Our intensified operation in the northeast, particularly through collaboration with the Multinational Joint Task Force, have significantly weakened Boko Haram and ISWAP. From May 2023 to February 2025, our troops have neutralized 13,543 terrorists and criminals. Arrested 17,469 and rescued 9,821 hostages. Meanwhile, 124,408 Boko Haram/ISWAP terrorist combatant fighters and their families surrendered.
However, the Minister of Information and National Orientation is seeking the cooperation of media professionals in their reportage of terrorist activities.
The media, as gatekeepers and partners in nation building, have a crucial role to play in supporting our military's morale by highlighting their successes and sacrifices. I therefore call on my colleagues, our media professionals and editors, to be discerning in their reportage. We must deny these groups the undue publicity they crave. Honorable Minister.
The Minister of Environment also addressed the gathering, highlighting its achievements, which includes improved forest security and conservation.
We have restored a number of forests. About 80 hectares of the greater landscape have been restored, and we are doing more in trying to bring them back to rotation. And as part of that, we have signed an agreement to join the Middle East Green Initiative, which offers opportunities for environmental conservation and renewable energy.
The Interministerial Press Briefing is the brainchild of the Minister of Information and National Orientation, which provides a platform for ministers to bring citizens up to speed with happenings in their ministries.
Well, quite a lot to talk about. So that was what transpired yesterday at the National Press Center, where these days the Minister of Information brings other ministers to come and talk about their achievement, how it is to keep the country abreast of the strides they're making in their ministries. And yesterday was the turn of the Minister of Defense. And you heard him reel out all of those numbers and figures. 13,543 terrorists neutralized, 13,000 more of them arrested, how many Nigerians have been freed from the clutches of kidnappers and terrorists, etc., etc. And that one, and you could hear people applauding. But that wasn't the situation 2 days ago at the National Assembly when the lawmakers resumed from their recess. We had lawmakers who were very upset about the current security situation in the country. As a matter of fact, the senators, this is what happened in the House of Reps. In the Senate, it was a different kettle of fish. The conversation was as to whether they were going to hold a security summit or not. And the conversation was quite heated on the need or otherwise for the security summit. Well, the majority eventually had their way. It was decided that they will hold a security summit to see how it is that they can, bring things back to normal, the days when Nigerians felt a lot safer going about their business, carrying out, their normal daily chores. So are they contrasting? Is it that, people are seeing things differently, or what exactly is going on? Well, we have this morning Mr. Laolu Akonde, a former presidential aide, joining us this morning. He's also a journalist. I say was a journalist. Is it always a journalist?
Always a journalist.
Always a journalist, right? But this is what we're seeing. And I'm sure that as a journalist, you're also trying to make sense of what is currently happening. On the part of the National Assembly members, they are very concerned about the current security situation. As a matter of fact, some of what they said were things that we had not heard before. And on the Senate, for instance, we had conversations around Tucano jets. I think one of the senators, Senator Ningi, was talking about how our Tucanos were on some sort of contract, and after a while we couldn't use them or something like that, and he was wondering why it is that we had to borrow $1 billion we got, from the national coffers. We had to borrow that money to be able to purchase those Tucano jets. And we're wondering, where are they? Why are they not being put to use? And he says, we're constrained by some sort of contract. These are some of the conversations that transpired on the floor of the National Assembly. Yet, the message seems to be a bit different from the Minister of Defense talking about where we currently are with regards to security. How do we make sense of it? It's almost like, whose report do we believe?
Certainly. Yeah, thank you, Mark. I think quite a few issues. First of all, I think it's good to say that the effort of the information minister to try and bring his colleagues in the cabinet to do this briefing of the press about what they do is commendable. It's a very good thing. I think it's been on it for quite a while. And, one will say that they shouldn't just do it when they are doing anniversary. There should be a regular, continuous kind of stuff like that. It's very good, So we had the figures and the report of the defense minister yesterday. Now, coming back to the Senate, to quickly say this is that it's important when people like senators of the Federal Republic speak, it's important for them to go to the very depth of a situation. It's no use, to have information out of the Senate that is not complete. There's no way that Nigeria will have to cannot, and there's a contract that says it can be used. And what we expect the defense headquarters to come and explain exactly what it is. What I suspect is that there will be constraints around human rights abuses, because Nigeria has been called out for quite a number of times on how the military will end up, attacking unarmed civilians.
That's not new.
You know, exactly.
We're constrained in the Jonathan era under the Leahy law, and we understand that's why they refused to sell us, in the first instance. But when President Trump came in, we were able to purchase those jets.
Yeah. So there can't be an excuse, in my view, for not using the Tucano jets because of it's that you cannot use the Tucano jets to commit human rights violations or to attack innocent civilians. And that's why it's important for government to also be very clear in what it's doing. There are certain categories of some of these criminals that we need to correctly designate. What is happening, for instance, in north-central Nigeria, especially in Benue and Plateau, I don't think that we have correctly identified it. It is not farmer-herders clashes. It is not a communal clash. The governor of Plateau State, God bless him. His soul is still alive. God bless him for coming out to say that it's genocide. That was very bold of the governor, because genocide has international implications. So if genocide is taking place in North Central, that means we have to identify those people that are committing it beyond the regular communal clashes, beyond, farmer-herders clashes, so that, once you do that, you can then apply all the force that needed to be applied. Now, but if you don't do that, and you say that it's communal clashes, of course, you have to be careful in the way you apply the force, which goes back to what might be some of the limitations around the use of Tucano. But if you are using the Tucano to defend the territorial integrity of Nigeria, to destroy and demolish terrorist agendas, you are completely, free to do so.
Right. Yeah. But I think the key question for me is whether the briefing of the Minister of Defense took into cognizance the context in which we're currently dealing with, and the conversations that had happened in the National Assembly prior to his briefing the generality of the country as to the strides that have been made. Because these concerns remain. Yes, we have neutralized this many terrorists. Yes, we have arrested this many criminals. Yes, we have freed this many people from the clutches of kidnappers and what have you. Yet, the challenges remain. We have lost so many lives as well. And people are wondering, am I safe? Am I still, will I be able to go about my activities without, without my life being cut short all of a sudden, owing to no fault of mine? These are the key questions. So do you think that listening to that briefing yesterday, it took all of these concerns raised by members of the National Assembly and, which is like an expression of what the Nigerian people feel into cognizance when he gave that press briefing? Well,
I think you said it that, who do you choose to believe? There are always two sides to this thing. There's a saying in my language that what you are looking directly in front of you is what somebody is looking from the back. The minister is trying to say that, look, we're not sitting here idle. This is what the military has been able to do. This is the number of attacks they have accomplished, number of terrorists neutralized, and all of that. But that's just one side of the story, and that is where he's coming from. He's coming from the point of view that, look, this is what we have done. But what you said is the other side. What is true is that when you are dealing with this kind of criminals, especially terrorists and these bandits and all of this stuff, they need to just get through and beat the system just once. You as the government and the security agencies, you need to get it right 100%, which is the challenge and the difficulty. So, you may have prevented 90% of the attacks that did not happen, I'm just saying, but the 10% that you did not manage to stop, explains the feeling of the Nigerian people to say that, look, this thing is going on, we're not protected, we are not properly defended. And it goes back to what I said, that, look, there has to be a greater demonstration of our will as a people to confront these challenges. You know, and we must identify them correctly. We must all agree about what is happening. I think we've agreed that what is happening in the Northwest is banditry. What is happening in the Northeast is terrorism. You know, we need to properly designate the groups in that way. But I don't think we have agreed that what is happening in Northwest and North Central. I think we are still somehow almost cavalier, saying that, well, yeah, you know, no, we need to also identify that.
We need to define clearly.
We need to define clearly, because the governor has come out to say that it's a genocide. The governor is an official of government, an elected official of government. These things have international dimension. There is the International Criminal Court that has the powers, you know, to go after crimes against humanity. Genocide is one of it. And one of the provisos of the International Criminal Court is that when the domestic, the national legal system has failed, or when you will lack the political will to go after these things. So if you hear the stories of what is happening in Benue and Plateau State, people are screaming blue murder. Governor said it is genocide. So we need to pay attention to that and deal with it. And lastly, our military needs to do more. They are doing very well. I mean, the military is one of the most disciplined, properly organized. You know, when you meet some of those guys, you will be impressed the level of their training and exposure. But we are not doing enough yet. We're not doing enough yet. You know, I see that one of the things that the minister said was to say that, no, look, we have more ammunition. We have more. Our weaponry is stronger than the terrorists. Yeah, you know. But Senator Ndume said, you know, few months ago, you know, that we need like 1,000 MRAPs. You know, why aren't we having that? You know, we need to give the military, the political leaders, and I think the president needs to give the military a very unequivocal order to say that, look, I want these things to be done with. And I believe we can do it. We need that kind of very unequivocal, you know, instruction to say, let's sort this problem. And we can as a people. We have the military, but we must equip them. And we must let them know that this is what we want, end this thing. You know, I think there's still a little bit of, you know, we're not really sure whether we really want to. You know, we really need to, especially in the North Central.
Well, Mr. Akonde, just yesterday we interviewed a former senator representing Kaduna Central, Shehu Sani, on our program Politics Today, where he was saying, look, he is tired of just talk without action. And over time, and some other people have also said, look, it's been quite a while that a good number of people have spoken and spoken and spoken about all of these whole insecurity issues, and it would seem like it continues unabated. Now, on the one hand, there are those who have spoken to the influence of politics and politicking in the spate of insecurity. On the other hand, there are those who have pointed out the role of poverty, of unemployment, and other social inequities as being responsible for these insecurity issues. Do you think, given all of these facts, that we still need to have a security summit when it will seem like what to do is right there before us? We just don't seem to be doing them yet.
Yeah, thank you, Ayo. I think to the extent that having an ongoing conversation, you know, about an ongoing problem is useful. To that extent, yes, we could have I mean, I'm saying essentially that having a conversation, having a dialogue about this problem is not a bad thing. But where Senator Sonny is correct is, if all we are doing is just having those conversations and we are not ramping up, you know, actions on the ground, then it's a waste of time. So that's how I come into it. That yes, you know, we need to keep talking to ourselves because we have not been able to solve these problems in a very significant way. We are stepping up. There's no doubt about that. You know, we are equipping the military as much as possible. There seems to be more that we can do in terms of also understanding the nexus between poverty and insecurity, there's a lot more that we can do to close the gap of poverty. So there are still a lot of things that we need to have conversations with ourselves on. No doubt about that. But Senator Sonny is correct to say that, look, the greater thing, the immediate concern of Nigerians is to nip this thing, where I think that's gone beyond nipping the bud, because is to actually crush, you know, this onslaughts and offenses against our people, be it in the northeast, be it in the northwest, be it in the north central. And another point that one should add is that there is a perception, and this has been going on for a long time, there's a perception of injustice in many of these things. There are victims who have seen that the system is not giving them any kind of redress. And if you dig deep, for instance, into what is happening in the North Central, you get a lot of this kind of feedback that they feel that they are not being given justice. And there's also the question of the relief for the victims. It's as if the relief is not sufficient, you know, to try and take care of people that have been displaced and all of that. There's still a lot of work. So there are things that we need to call attention to when we sit down to have the conversation, but we need to ramp up what is happening on the ground. Why don't we have a situation after we've been dealing? I mean, the APC government now, since 2015, even if we just take it far from that place, we have not significantly increased the numbers of our troops on the ground, whether it's in military or in the police. It's taking us too long to even do that. So yes, there are issues to talk about, but we better do more of action. I agree with Senator Sonny in that wise.
Well, in terms of doing more of action, Mr. Akonde, one would wonder then what the role of the governors should be. We hear and see of commissioning of this infrastructure, commissioning of that infrastructure. But one wonders how we can actually scale all of that into the human capital development of the people so that they are not lured into activities, or rather what one can call anti-state activities. Is there anything we can, that the governors can advise themselves, among themselves, to do? All insecurity we hear is local. Shouldn't all insecurity solutions also be local?
Well, a significant portion, and thank you for that question, Ayo. A significant portion of the solution ought to be local. For instance, when we're talking about the relief, yes, you know, we have NEMA, the federal agency, but a governor of a state where your people have been displaced, you shouldn't be just waiting for what NEMA is going to do. NEMA should do its job, no doubt. But you can take care of your people. You can provide relief materials. You can ensure that they have a place to put their heads after they've been displaced. So that is one area. And then in the area of human capital development, it is entirely, completely up to the governors, and we've said this and we have to say it over and over again. You know, education, healthcare, the governors ought to, and they need to do a lot more. And you will find that if you take care of those two things, education and health, and hard agriculture, you will be able to get a lot of people out of the poverty bracket, and then out from where they can be recruited for crimes and all of those stuff. Most of our governors, many of our governors are not doing enough in the area of human capital development. I mean, a recent example is you have the Minister of Education saying that, look, these UBEC funds, I have over 200 billion that governors have not been taking since 2020. Can you imagine that? Since 2020. You know, I mean, when I calculated the figures, it came close to 300 billion naira that is available for education, to build schools, to train teachers, to pay teachers better, you know, to build classrooms. We have a situation where pupils are sitting on the floor, outside, you know, under the shade to be educated. No infrastructure, no tables, no chairs, no textbooks. The teachers are poorly paid. And the federal government is screaming, you know, under this new minister, said that, look, 300 billion naira is here, come and take it. And many of the governors are saying, no, you don't have the counterpart funding. But they have the funding to do infrastructure. They have the funding to do all of these, big, buildings all over the place, which is not entirely bad. But you cannot say that you don't have money to collect, federal matching funds to transform health and education. So you are right. The governors have a lot of role to play in all of these things, and they need to step up.
And week in, week out, we talk about, the roles that governors need to play. Because no matter what it is that we're discussing, every time you always emphasize the role that governors need to play. But, if someone will ask, what role do you think governors need to play in terms of institutions working? And people have talked about, the general state of the rule of law in our country. And this one of the examples that they use. And when these issues usually start, they might start as small issues that we don't really, take note of. Take, for instance, NSARS, when you started to canvass that, police brutality was becoming unbearable, especially that of the Special Anti-Robbery Squad. And now there's another protest now around the release of another popular social media influencer who, by the way, was released yesterday, very dark man, he's popularly known as. But it raises questions, fundamental questions about the state of the rule of law. Because people will say, how is it possible that somebody is just taken away ostensibly by security agencies? This time around, we understand it was the EFCC, and no charge was brought against the gentleman.
Right. So two things that I'd like to address. So governors have a lot of role to play in rule of law, and I'll give you an example. So while I was working with the former vice president, he was particularly concerned about the issue of justice, and he says to me that, look, if justice is not the cornerstone of governance, it's a complete waste of time. Because if people don't see justice, they don't care what else you are doing. And it's so correct. So when we're trying to sort out the issues of insecurity, especially in the middle, in North Central, another part of the country, it turns out that a lot of the people that are arrested for these attacks, so-called then communal clashes, they will be released. They arrest them today. Somebody will call the DPO, will say, well, I have a call, to release this guy from all of the stuff. So the vice president then said that, look, he needs to talk to the attorney generals in the states that, look, these are crimes that are within the legal ramifications of a state. You have to go after them, as attorney general, you must be the one driving this thing. A lot of that is not happening. A lot of people are just sitting down and saying, look, you know what, I'm not the one that is going to be the one to be chest out, and stick my neck.
I'm not going to be the hero.
Exactly. So there is a lot of that is going on, and it's at the state level.
The second part, very quickly.
Yeah, the second part, about, very dark man is that it tells you where we have dropped as a people, that very dark man has become the oasis of people who seek justice in the system but can't find it. It's terrible that it is very dark man that has become where people see hope. It tells you what has happened to our law enforcement agencies. And I know in EFCC that you have a gentleman, the chairman, Mr. Lukaede, excellent. He knows what he's doing. But the public affairs of EFCC is below par. You cannot go and arrest a very dark man and leave it to people to fill the vacuum as to why. The basic thing about public communication is that you must be in front of the news. If you're going to pick a very dark man, you must be the one to tell us, we have picked him for this and this and this. That way, you control the narrative. You don't go and pick very dark man and then leave out the information. And some people will make it up. Oh, they're not giving him food. Oh, they're beating him up. Which turns out to be false. Nobody was beating him up. He was getting the food. But the people did not, the EFCC public affairs people did not put out the information. So it comes back to what I said. That very dark man because of this kind of inefficiencies in our system, has become the oasis of justice. It's so sad.
Well, Mr. Laolu Akonde, this is currently where we are. It's not a very bright place to end it, but what is your own take on this? Thank you so much for coming on the program.
Thank you, Mark.
Mr. Laolu Akonde is a former presidential aide. Well, that's how we wrap it up on today's Thursday's edition of Sunrise Daily. Thank you so much for being a part of our program today. I'm Maupe Ogun Yusuf.
And I'm Ayo Makinde. Have a wonderful day.